Today is June 6, 2022. I want to apologize to everybody. I made a video called The Truth Will Shock You on 5/30/2022. I don't approve of violence at all. And I want to make that clear. And I misinterpreted the word condone. So I misused it. So we took that video down. This is why I'm making this video. Because I do not condone, or let me rephrase that. I do not approve of any violence at all. Any violence at all. I do not approve of it. This video is not to have people go out and cause violence of any. And what I'm going to talk about is assault rifles and the definition. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary definition of a massacre, the act or intent or instance of killing a number, usually a helpless or unresisting circumstances, number of people. Their definition of an assault rifle was changed so it would match what gun control advocates are pushing for. Now, to be fair about this, I went to dictionary.com. Massacre, the unnecessary, indiscriminate killing of a large number of human beings. Their definition of assault rifle is a military rifle capable of both automatic and semi-automatic fire. In other words, it has a selector switch. On it. Now, assault rifle definition, according to the ATF, is a gun that fires more than one round each time the trigger is pulled. So in other words, it's a machine gun. AR-15s, AR does not stand for assault rifle. We need to get this through our politicians' thick heads that it is not an assault rifle. 99.9% of our politicians today do not know what an assault rifle is. You go into any gun shop and show me where you can find an assault rifle section. The only thing they're doing, and I'm going to be very, very plain about this. The Democrats are playing off the dead children in Texas to get what they want. They don't care about the families. And I pray God that God will give them families peace and comfort. I really do. But the Democrats already have shown their true colors that they are going to use everything they can off these dead children. And that is wrong. Now, you just heard what the assault rifle is according to alcohol, tobacco, and firearm. It has to have a selector switch to turn it into fully auto or semi, or a 3-round burst. In the military, we had the M16, which was, you had a selector switch on. You can select it from fully auto, or to 3-round burst, or to single shot. So again, AR-15 is not an assault rifle. Assault rifles being machine guns are illegal at the federal level, not state, federal. And strictly regulated under 3 laws. A, National Firearm Act of 1934, the Gun Control Act of 1968, and the final one was Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986. You can look all these up. And in order to own a machine gun, this is what our politicians are, you know how they're lying. In order to own a machine gun, you have to fill out Form 4 with the ATF. And this is what I found out. You have to be fingerprinted and photo and signature of a local law enforcement officer. You have to pass a strict background check. Pay $200 stamp tax. Wait several months for ATF approval. And you also have the Firearm Protection Act of 1986 that closed the machine gun registry to new owners or machine guns. Now, between 2009 and 2020, The 5 deadliest mass shootings incidents in the U.S. Las Vegas, Orlando, Newtown, Sandy Hook, Southern Springs, El Paso. Now, what do all these mass shootings have in? You're probably asking me. They had a person behind the weapon that pulled the trigger. The gun does not kill people. It's people killing people. Let's get it straight, folks. Let's get it straight. And for our politicians, they need to open their eyes and wake up. It is people killing people, not guns killing people. And the AR-15, I will say this 1,000 times until I'm blue in the face or dead, AR-15s are not assault rifles. I will challenge any politician right now. I will go out and buy an AR-15 and lay it on my table. We will have police officers, SWAT teams, FBI, ATF agents here with all the news reporters in the whole country to watch this for 24 hours to see if it grows legs and arms and goes out and kills somebody. If it doesn't, then them politicians have to resign and serve 20 years in prison. Each one of them. They have to pay me $20 million each plus 20 years or what it is in prison, because that's how ignorant they are. Now, I went a little bit farther, and this is how the Congressional Research Service defines a mass shooting: as multiple firearm homicide incidents involving 4 or more victims at one or more locations close to one another. The FBI definition is essentially the same. Now, the formula that they use, for example, is if 10 people are shot but only 2 die, the incident isn't a mass shooting. Well, that kind of contradicts what the Congressional Research Service defines: 4 or more people getting shot. Now, if 5 people are purposely run down and killed by an individual driving a motor vehicle, the deaths do not count because a firearm is not involved. Wow. Wow. Now, you're going to be shocked at this. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the definition of a weapon is something that used to injure, defeat, or destroy. Think about that. This is the same dictionary that changed the definition of an assault rifle to fit the gun advocate groups, to support them. But we have a definition of a weapon according to them. Now, if you go back to what I said from the FBI here, definition is essentially the same as the Congressional Research Service defines mass shooting as multiple firearms homicide incidents involving 4 or more victims. Isn't a firearm a weapon? Ask yourself that. A firearm is a weapon. So we go back to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary. Definition of a weapon: something used to injure, defeat, or destroy. Didn't we have a man who went and ran over a bunch of people in a parade? But they refuse to call that a weapon. The FBI does. The way they do things. That's why our country is so messed up today. Because we got politicians who don't know what they're talking about. It's simple as that. Now, I did some investigation a little bit on the Las Vegas shooter. Only thing I can find out is that he gambled a lot. That's all I can find out. The Orlando, Omar, he was investigated by the FBI for having connection to terrorist groups. Wow. The Newtown, Sandy Hook. The only thing I can find out, had depression, anxiety, plus other problems. But the Child Advocate Office said the depression, the anxiety, and all these other mental problems he had didn't cause him to go shoot all these kids, all these children. Wow, are they experts in the field? If they knew so much, why didn't they prevent it? That's my question to them. Just like the Orlando. If the FBI was watching this guy, why didn't they do something? I call the FBI the Federal Bureau of Idiots, because that's exactly what they are. Southern Springs, that's where the church. Here's what I found out. The Air Force failed to tell law enforcement about the court martial, or put, if you don't know nothing about military and veterans, when veterans get out, the military passes their records on to local law enforcement and all this. Somewhere along that line, when you go apply for a job, they do all kinds of background checks on you. Here's the Air Force failed to tell anybody about the court martial. But then the man got arrested in El Paso, Texas, for escaping from a mental health facility. Now, nowhere am I putting down law enforcement, but there's some areas here that, instead of putting all the blame on law-abiding citizens and trying to take our rights away, which you will not take our rights away, because they'll be given to us by God, and no matter how much these so-called idiots on the news from NBC, CBS, and all these others try to say, oh, the Second Amendment says a well-organized militia. It says the people have a right to bear arms, and it should not be infringed on. The people, which are the individuals, and the definition of infringe means nobody can change the Second Amendment. If they do, they violate your constitutional rights, and they can be put in prison. That includes Biden and all these other Democrats and Republicans included, and independents who want to take your Second rights away, your Second Amendment right. They cannot infringe on your Second Amendment right to own guns. That was given to us by our forefathers. Now, I just seen one gentleman who said he will do anything he has to. If the Supreme Court doesn't pass law, he'll do whatever he has to get the guns taken away from law-abiding citizens. Well, here's what I'm going to say to that politician, and I really hope he sees my video. I think his name is Jones, a black gentleman. You will have one heck of a fight on your hands. It's not a threat, it's a promise, because there's so many law-abiding people in this country that are going to stand up to you and say enough is enough, we're not going to take it no more. We have rights, and you're not going to violate these rights. I don't care what title you have. Now, I'm going to take it a little bit farther. When you fill out forms to get a background check, we're going to go to Biden's son, Hunter. He lied on an ATF application. So Biden needs to look at his own dirt and his own family before he starts making calls about taking our rights away. Now, I did a little bit of investigation here. Washington Post, from January to June as of now, today, they said there's been over 200 mass shootings. The total that is killed, 256. The total that is injured, 1,010. Now, again, mass shooting is defined as 4 or more people are shot or killed. May 31st, 2022, Chattanooga, Tennessee. 6 teenagers were shot because of an altercation with other teenagers. Philadelphia, 3 killed and 12 injured. Here's what's so funny about this one. The police and the district attorney said there was 5 guns involved. They said 4, then they said 5, but they don't know what the 5th gun is. Wait a minute now. If you got bullet casings, that'll tell you what caliber the gun is. This is why I call our politicians idiots anymore, because I am sick and tired of them trying to tell us how to live and do things when they know nothing about us. Now, here's what they put down. The police believe there's 4 shooters with 5 guns. Sorry about the interruption. The police believe there's 4 shooters with 5 guns. 3 9mm, 1 .40 caliber, and the 5th gun, they don't know. This is how intelligent our police are. Now, the one suspect, from what the DA said, did not have a license to carry a gun. There we go again. The criminals are breaking the laws, but our politicians are going to protect the criminals and then treat the law-abiding citizens as criminals. I guess that's what they want. Here we go again. One suspect was in an altercation with another man, and the two began firing at each other. And according to the report, the DA said the men that were firing at each other both had license to carry a weapon. Pardon me. But there was 1 or 2 who didn't. You're going to be shocked at this last one that I've just found out about. Chicago. Here's what the Chicago newspaper Sun-Times said. From January up to the present date, there has been over 251 people killed in Chicago. Washington Post has said there's been over 200 mass shootings for a total of 256 people killed. Do you know that Chicago is only 5 deaths short of meeting what the total is killed? But they won't talk about Chicago. They won't talk about these Democratic cities. Washington, D.C., New York, strictest gun laws, but the highest murder rates. You go to West Virginia, I guarantee you, they don't have a problem with guns. They don't have a problem with crime. So, I'm going to say this. I'm a God-fearing man. Am I perfect? No. I graduated from high school in 1983. We had a rifle team. We never had to worry about mass shootings. We never worry about none of this. Here's the whole problem, what it boils down to. When we took God out of school, when we took God out of everything, whether you believe in God or not, you need to wake up and see the light. Our kids are playing these violent video games. What are they being taught? Violence, 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 violence. Now they get a smack on their hand. They can talk back to their teachers and do whatever they want to. The household is broken. There's no mom and dad. There's nothing. But parents are called terrorists by the Homeland Security because they're standing up for what's right is for their children. Wow. When I served in the military, I served in the greatest country in the world with the greatest military in the world. And I am so sick and tired of seeing people sit down and get pushed around. And most Americans are waking up now to see the light. Thank God for that. This has to stop with the nonsense from our politicians. Law-abiding citizens are being punished because of criminals, because the law enforcement community, our district attorney and judges won't do their job. Now, I just read you from January of 2022 to June of 22 of this year, 251 people were killed in Chicago because the mayor will not do anything. Everybody blamed Trump for the riots and all this. We let Antifa, Black Lives Matters and all them destroy cities here in the United States. Why? And I want to finish up with one thing. And I'm going to say it again and again and over. I do not encourage violence. I'm totally against violence. But I will defend my family. I hope most of you out there will defend your family against violent gangs. I hope and pray that you send a letter to your congressmen and senators to let them know that you are sick and tired. We got all these gun rules and gun laws on the books, but none of them do no good. Why? Because the criminals will get their guns one way or another. They will find out how to get them and a way to get them. They don't obey the laws. That's why they're in prisons. That's all there is to it. That is why a lot of them are in prison. But again, I'm going to turn back to God, because the God is the answer to everything. If you don't have God in your life, please accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. Because when everything's done and over with, Jesus is only going to be one or two things to you. He's either going to be your judge or your Savior. Nothing else. And you're going to go to one or two places, heaven or hell. And that's it. Now, I have covered a lot. You have seen where you can look up this yourself. Look up ATF's definition of a machine gun. And what surprisingly is that our politicians don't know this. Our politicians don't even know what a machine gun is, but they're supposed to be representing you. This is why I call them idiots, because they don't know. They think they're better than us. And I'm fed up with the government and the politicians trying to take our rights away when we have a constitutional right that was founded on God and by God for our forefathers to defend ourselves. This is ridiculous. And if you think I'm a little bit upset, yes, I am. I am totally upset. Totally upset, because I don't want to see this country turn into a communist country. And that's what Biden and all the Democrats are trying to do. Schumer, who told the protesters go protest at the Supreme Court judges' houses until they get their way. How come he's not put in prison for making threats against the Supreme Court justice, which is a federal law against that? Federal law against making threats against the Supreme Justice. But here's Schumer doing that. They have him on videotape. I'm calling on every American citizen to join together, pass this video around, join together, and tell your congressman and senator that they pass any type of gun laws to take your rights away, you will vote them out of office. We need to hit them where the pocket is. Their votes. And pay attention to who you're voting for. Because a lot of people hate Trump, but Trump did a lot of good for this country. You had more money in your pocket. The gas prices were lower. We didn't have the war that was going on like we do now. We had Afghanistan, but there was a way to pull out, not like Biden did. So what does this all boil down to? The United States Constitution gives you rights to freedom of speech, the right to bear arms. Doesn't say part of it. It says real clear in the Second Amendment that people have a right to bear arms and it should not be infringed on. I just seen a man It has to be a Democrat on NBC. He only took half of the Second Amendment and trying to show everybody, see, it says a well-regulated militia. Well, okay, if that's the case, then why does the president need a bodyguard or a team? Why does Hillary Clinton need a team? Let's take their weapons away. In fact, I'll give up my weapons if every politician and congressman and all of them give up their security teams. Give up your security teams and your private security, and I'll give up my weapons. But until then, no, I'm not. I'm not giving up nothing. And you can see my shirt where it says freedom. Freedom. That's what I have fought for. That's what hundreds and other thousands of veterans fought for, was freedom for you to have in this country. And part of that freedom is the Second Amendment. Today is June 6th, which is a anniversary of D-Day. Over 10,000 soldiers lost their life hitting the beach. Out of 153,000, over 10,000 lost their lives. Well, you go tell their families and their loved ones that their rights don't matter. I want to see the politicians go down and tell their families that their lives didn't matter. What they died for didn't matter no more because it doesn't matter to them. I want to see these politicians do that. We can fix this problem. Ted Cruz, a senator out of Texas, a Republican, had a bill, but Biden and the Democrats refused to sign off on it. It was to harden our schools. You have one entrance and one exit. You have armed police officers there. Or school security, which would be ex-military, ex-law enforcement. People that knew how to handle weapons. We can protect our children if we take the right steps. Disarming law-abiding citizens is not the answer. It is not the answer. But our politicians think it is. And they're doing it because the Democrats know they have done the American people wrong, and they are running. They are running for their lives and trying to do anything they can, including making statements and walking all over these children's deaths. They are using their deaths to benefit them, and that is sad and uncalled for in this country. They ought to be prosecuted and thrown in prison. These little kids didn't do anything. It was a sick individual who went in and killed all these little kids and the two teachers. It is not the weapons that did it, and it could have been prevented. But anyways, thank you for listening, and God bless you. And I hope you share this video and put, if you like it, put a like up there if you would, please. And thank you very much.